Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. Welcome. Welcome to another rendition in romance novels. Thank you so much for tuning in, for coming back. And so we are going to continue reading with Vim's Eve's Daughters. And to catch you up, we understand from chapters 14 and 15 that Maybelle found out that she fell asleep and Naomi and Cato was handling business right under her nose. And we also found out that Samantha and Blaine almost broke up because she's undecided. She's never been with a brother before, never dated a brother. And so she's twixt in between and she kind of feeling herself. And so Blaine tells her, if you don't want me here anymore, that's fine. So he threatens to take Solomon, but in the end, they stay together and they are going off to do what they do. And then Don Powell comes because he's been out of town in Briscoe for a while. And so he comes over to see Solomon, and Solomon isn't there. And then Eve really does want to spend some alone time with Don Powell. And so she's very hesitant to leave out of the house with him. As she leaves, she can feel 1,000 eyes on her watching her, because the whole neighborhood talk about her and Don Powell being together every day. And so he's not going to let those prying eyes define that moment for him. So he uses his authoritative tone and tells Eve to get in the truck and to buckle up. And so we are going to pick up from there on chapters 15 and 16. Hello, Miss Michelle. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you. Chapter 15. Eve awoke to the sound of Don Paul gently calling her name. As she opened her eyes and sat up in the truck, she was surprised that they were parked in the field where she and Don Paul had first made love. Don Paul, why didn't you wake me? I like watching you sleep, he said, kissing her hand. Eve opened the door and got out of the truck. Whew, my goodness, it's been a long time since I've been here. Don Paul retrieved the basket, walked up beside her, and took her hand. You know where we are? Eve merely looked at him. How could I ever forget? Come on, he said, leading her toward the creek. As they walked through the tall grass, Don Paul put his arm around Eve's shoulders, and she slid her arm around his waist. Come on. God, it's been so long, Don Paul. It's still so beautiful here. Look, the tree, Eve said, pointing. I wonder if it's still there, she said, unraveling herself from him and running toward the huge oak tree. Eve reached the tree, and to her amazement, their initials were still very visible. My goodness, I can't believe it. I don't remember our initials being this deep, she said, tracing the heart in her initials with her index finger. That right there, that's 19 years worth of carving, Don Paul said as he held her from behind and kissed her neck. Pardon? I come here all the time, Eve. Each time I come, I make sure and carve our initials a little deeper so I can have proof that our love really existed. Eve turned around and embraced him. Don Paul picked Eve up and she wrapped her legs around his waist. Don Paul leaned her back against the tree and kissed her passionately. I've missed you, Eve. I prayed every day that you'd come back into my life, girl. And look at you. Here you are. Don Paul, she moaned between kisses. Please, please, Eve, tell me you thought about me. You had to think about me just sometimes. I did, baby. I did, Don Paul. Honey, couldn't you feel me? She said, unbuttoning his shirt. Eve ran her hands over his hairy chest. Don Paul raised her dress and ran his hand over her smooth behind. Girl, you still don't wear no underwear, he said, smiling. Don Paul laid Eve in the plush green grass and looked down upon her. I swear, I ain't never, ever seen a woman as beautiful as you. Never. Eve unbuttoned her dress and pushed it to the side. Oh, girl, he said as he kissed her breast tenderly. Oh, Don Paul, I have missed you, baby, she moaned, arching her back so her breast could make contact with his chest. Don Paul kissed Eve from the top of her head to her toes. When he came back up, he rested at her mouth and inhaled deeply. Eve was the only woman that he had ever tasted, and his mouth watered for her with anticipation. Ah, baby, there, she moaned as she felt his tongue familiarizing itself with her womanhood again. Don Paul, baby, she moaned, enjoying the feeling as she ran her fingers through his thick black hair. Eve breathed uncontrollably underneath his touch as he brought her to a climax. May I, Eve, may I make love to you again? He asked as he kissed his way back to her face. Eve reached for his belt, unfastened it, unzipped his pants, and then reached for his shirt. No, leave it on, he said softly as he kissed her neck. Eve continued to try and take his shirt off. Leave it, Eve. Stop. What? What's the matter? She asked as she quickly slid her hands underneath his shirt and touched his back. What in the world? Don Paul, she exclaimed as her hands met the thick keloids on his back. Don Paul rose and tried to button his shirt. No, stop. What happened to you? Let me see, she demanded. No, he said, holding her hands. Eve struggled against him. Don Paul, no, they beat you? Your daddy beat you? No, she screamed as tears streamed from her eyes. No, Don Paul, why? Don Paul embraced her and held her tightly. I left you alone. I didn't interfere. I kept my word, she cried. Don Paul began to cry with her. I couldn't let him hurt you, baby. After you shot him, all hell broke loose, Eve. But nobody saw. Nobody knew. Bubba knew. He came back to help me and Mom. He brought help with him. He saw everything. It was Bubba who told your mom what happened. Hell, Eve, you didn't know it, but he and your mom was going together. That's why your parents was always fighting. It was over Bubba. Pa got some boys together to go across them tracks and get you when you was alone. They'd been watching you, Eve. They was gonna get you. Eve inhaled deeply. No. Yeah. Somebody told Paul that they saw you walking alone in the field at the end of the tracks. Bubba found out somehow, and he warned your pa. Your pa got some boys together and somehow met up at the tracks at the same time as my pa. All hell broke loose then, Eve. I was hiding in the bushes with one of Pa's rifles and a box full of shells. I was going to kill every one of them before I let them hurt you. Don Paul said as he held her close. What happened, Don Paul? I don't remember hearing or seeing anything. I never heard no fighting. I didn't see no trucks pulling up. Eve said as her mind raced wildly. I know you didn't. Maybelle's mom, Miss T, got to you just before they all arrived. Eve thought back, and she did remember Aunt T calling to her through the woods. Eve knew it was urgent, so she ran to her. I saw her waving to you, and I saw you run over to her. She had to know what was about to happen. I saw it all. Them boys jumped off them trucks, Eve, and commenced to cutting and beating each other. Your pa beat my daddy damn near an inch of his life. Hell, all them white boys got beat real bad. But how did you get beat, Don Paul? You said you was laying in the bushes. How'd you get beat? How? A few weeks later, I was in the barn when Paul came in drunk one day. He was mad as hell because he felt like you got away with shooting him and cause they lost that fight. He was hellbound that somebody was going to pay for what you did to him. He told me what color dress you had on that day, and the day before that, and the day before that. And I almost lost it when I realized that he could have shot you at any minute, and you wouldn't have never even known it. He told me that the only way for me to save your life was for me to marry Margaret and put a baby in her. He told me I was going to have to take the beating your daddy laid on him. Oh, God. Oh, Don Paul, no. Eve cried as she covered her face with her hands. I'd rather die than have had him lay a hand on you, Eve. So I promised to marry Margaret, and I promised to give her a baby. And I let him string me up. No, Don Paul, stop. Don't say anymore. He stripped my shirt off of my back. He threw some salt water on me and beat me with a horsewhip. Don Paul said as he stared blankly into open space. Don Paul, baby, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Eve, I never felt a thing. When the first lash hit my back, I saw you. I swear I saw you. Standing right in front of me, caressing my face with that big, beautiful smile. Girl, you were singing and dancing for me, talking to me. I swear to God, you was there, Eve. You was right there with me. I don't even remember when he finished beating me. All I know is that Mama, Bubba, and your mama cut me down. It was your mama who healed my back as good as it is now. She took real good care of me, real good care of me. After I healed, I kept my promise and I married Margaret and I gave her a baby. That's blame. Eve held him tightly. I had to save you, baby. It was the only thing I knew to do. Ain't no telling what he would have done to you, Eve. Ain't no telling, Don Paul cried. Eve cried with him as she cradled him in her arms. Thank you. Thank you for saving my life, Don Paul, she said, kissing him and pulling him down upon her. Don Paul cried as he laid upon her, and Eve kissed his tears tenderly. My baby, my precious, precious baby. Make love to me, Don Paul. She moaned as she wrapped her legs around his waist. Don Paul entered Eve and closed his eyes as his manhood felt as if it had just returned home. Don Paul, I love you, Eve. I love you, girl. I know you do, baby. Now I know just how much, she whispered as she raised her hips to meet him. I told you I'd take 1,000 lashes for you, Eve. He moaned as he cupped her buttocks and fully entered her. Oh, yes, Don Paul. Oh, baby, you feel so good. Love me, Don Paul. I love you, Eve. I love you, baby, for the rest of my life. The rest of my life. Oh, girl, I have missed you. Don Paul. Marcus entered his house carrying a sleeping Solomon and a very content Jolene. They had spent the day in Beckley at a traveling carnival. Marcus laid Solomon down on his bed and cleaned Jolene's sticky hands and face. She had really enjoyed herself playing games and eating cotton candy and candy apples. Marcus knew she had eaten too many sweets, but he just didn't have the heart to say no to her. Marcus leaned against the wall with his arms crossed, watching Jolene play happily with a stuffed teddy bear that he had won for her, pitching horseshoes. He smiled at her and wished she had come from his seed. He looked at his watch and realized that he should call Eve and let her know that they were back. He walked into the kitchen and dialed her number. Wonder where she is, he said to no one in particular as he hung up the phone. Reverend Cook! Reverend, somebody's at the door, Jolene called to him. I think it's Mama. Marcus smiled and went to the door. Hey, girl, I just called you. You did? What, something wrong? Eve asked, noticing the concern in his eyes. Where's Solomon? What's wrong? Nothing's wrong, baby. He's in the room. He's asleep. Oh, Eve said, holding her chest and releasing her breath. What's wrong? Something happened? She asked, kissing Jolene and inspecting her. Come in the kitchen with me, baby. Eve's heart began to race because she thought he was going to say something to her about Don Paul. Maybe someone had seen them in the field and got to him and told him. What's up, baby? Something wrong? Well, yeah, it's Jolene. Whew, thank God, Eve thought to herself. What's wrong, baby? She looks fine. No, she's fine. That little Moore boy was up in her face, and I grabbed him before I knew it. Eve, you've got to go first thing tomorrow and get Jolene a brassiere. Oh, God. Marcus, what are you talking about? A brassiere? She don't need a brassiere. Yes, she does. She does. She got buds and stuff and cleavage, too. She needs a bra, Eve. I know she's 7, but I want you to go first thing in the morning and get her some more jeans, too. Them she wearing is too tight. All her little hips and thighs showing, not to mention they hugging her behind. Marcus, she ain't even button, baby. That's just baby fat. And if I get her clothes any bigger, Marcus, they gonna be hanging off of her. Look, I don't know, and I don't care. Something just has to be done. I didn't turn my head, but for half a second before that little Moore boy was up in her face, all of 12 years old. He should be ashamed of himself. I grabbed him by the throat and shook him before I even realized it. He knows she ain't nothing but 7 years old. Well, I found his daddy and I drug him and I threw him at him. Honey, you done told Mr. Moore? Oh my God, he probably done beat that poor boy to death, honey. He probably ain't even got no skin on his body now. Well, he's lucky it was his daddy and not me. I mean it, Eve. The girl got cleavage already. I mean, how can she be 7 and shaped like that? I mean, for that matter, look at all your daughters, Eve. It's scary. I declare, I don't think my heart can handle this, Eve, Marcus said, pacing the floor. Eve looked at Marcus and reveled in his concern for her baby girl. She knew that Marcus loved her children, especially Jolene. Shoot, Jolene was even starting to look like Marcus. If folk didn't know any better, they would swear that he really was her biological father. All right, baby, all right. Marcus, honey, calm down, calm down. If it'll make you feel any better, I'll go tomorrow and buy her a training bra. A training bra? No. She need one of them real bras, a real bra. Eve burst into laughter. Marcus, honey, she ain't got enough to fill up no real bra. Eve, I'm telling you, we gonna wake up one morning and they gonna just be there, he said, bringing his hands out. Trust me with this. And it's not funny either, woman. Stop laughing at me, he said, joining her. Stop laughing at me. You know I'm right. Marcus, stop tickling me. Stop, boy. You gonna make me pee. Stop, Eve screamed as she tried in vain to get away from his tickling hands. Marcus embraced Eve and smothered her face with kisses. Eve wanted to pull away from him because not an hour ago she was making passionate love to Don Paul in the field, enjoying every minute of it. What's wrong, baby? Why you pull away from me? Nothing, she said, coughing. Catching a cold, baby? I don't rightly know. I've been coughing since last night. I thought I had a tickle in my throat, you know. But it don't quite seem to be going away, Eve said, coughing again. You been to see Doc David? Maybe after you go get Jolene a bra and some more jeans, you need to go see Doc David, baby. Nah, I don't need to do that. It's going to go away after a while. It's just a spell. It's just a coughing spell. That's all. Marcus held her instead, and Eve embraced him. Eve, yes, baby. Can I talk to you about the kids? Sure. What's on your mind? She said, getting a soda from the refrigerator. Now, you know Jolene's my heart. It has been from the first time I laid eyes on her when you came to church. I know that, honey. I declare, I feel like she's from my own seed. Now, you know I love the others, but they about grown. I got a chance to be a daddy to Jolene. She's still young enough to make me feel like a real father. I don't know. I can't explain it. I understand, Marcus. Honest, I do, Eve said, sitting on his lap and caressing his face. I think that's one of the reasons why I love you so much, Marcus. The way you treat the kids. You've been more of a father to them than their own daddies have been when they were alive. I didn't know what it was like to have help around the house until I met you. I declare sometimes I thought I was just going to drop dead on my face. But it's not that way with you. Do you know how good it feels to have you standing beside me, rinsing dishes as I wash them? I know it sounds ridiculous, but I really appreciate that, Marcus. And the way you come over every morning to help me get all them off to school before you go to work. You don't have to do none of that. And the way you help them with their homework after you come home from work. Before, I could only spend 20 or 30 minutes with each one so I could check the other's homework and try and cook dinner too. But you just stepped right on in without me even asking you for help. I appreciate you, Marcus. You have no clue how much. Well, I'm glad you feel that way, Eve, because I want to adopt Jolene. I want her to have my last name. I'll take the other girls too. They can have my last name too, but they about grown. And they had a relationship with their daddy, so they may want to keep their daddy's name. But I want Jolene to have my name. Whew, Lord Eve, she thought to herself. How on earth did I get so lucky to have a man like you? What you talking about, woman? I'd go through hell and back for you and yours. Eve sat on Marcus' lap and let him hold her as guilt overwhelmed her. She had to fight hard to keep the tears from rolling down her face. Instead, she swallowed hard. Damn, girl, what have you gone and done? She asked herself as she squeezed Marcus tightly sitting on his lap. What in the world have you done? Chapter 16, our concluding chapter for the evening. Mr. Benjamin was sitting on the loading dock checking his paperwork when he heard a truck pull up. He looked over his glasses. He watched Thomas, Margaret's brother, get out of his truck and look around. Mr. Benjamin shook his head. There was something about Thomas that always bothered him, even when he was a little boy. He always thought Thomas was strange, but he just couldn't put his finger on it. He knew if Thomas was in town, that meant Margaret had called him, and that surely meant trouble. He and everyone else had hoped Margaret would just accept the fact that Blaine had chosen to live with Eve. Hell, even the altercation between Blaine and Maud didn't stir up nothing too much except some words in either community. It was plain to see that they had resolved their differences and had become good friends. They all had hoped that things would remain nice and calm. But Mr. Benjamin knew it was too good to be true, because trouble was walking straight toward him. and its name was Thomas. Hey, Ben. How you doing, Ben? He asked, walking onto the platform. Hey, Thomas. How you doing? Long time no see. Wish I'd never have to lay eyes on you, Mr. Benjamin thought to himself. How's life been treating you, Thomas? Oh, fine, fine, Thomas said, shaking Mr. Benjamin's hand. Mr. Benjamin shook Thomas' hand and wiped it off on his breeches. You're looking for Blaine? Mm-hmm. Yeah. He around? Where you at? I don't see him nowhere. I'm afraid you missed him, Thomas. I sent him on a delivery. Oh, well, when will he be back? I really want to see him. Probably in an hour or more. You welcome to wait out front if you want. Nah, I'll come back later. Tell me something, Ben. Uh-huh. What, Thomas? What you think about this fix my nephew done got himself in? Margaret about to go plumb out of her mind, Thomas said, pulling at his overalls. Is she now? Well, that's too bad. You ought to tell her that Blaine doing just fine. Yeah, he doing just fine. And as far as I see it, I don't think Blaine's in a fix. He taking care of his responsibility cause he want to, Thomas. That baby boy ain't asked to be born. I bet you ain't even laid the weight of your eyes on him. He's a good-looking little fella and smart, too. Well, now, look here. Look here. Here come Don Paul. Thomas turned around and saw his brother-in-law pulling up in his truck. Afternoon, Ben. Thomas. Don Paul never did like Thomas either. Don Paul, Mr. Benjamin said, looking at him over his glasses as he continued checking his daily work. Blaine around? Nah, I was just telling Thomas here he'd be back in an hour or more. Oh, you sent him on deliveries? Yeah, don't tell him nothing, but I'm gonna give him a raise. I declare, he's a sure enough good worker. Reliable, dependable. I ain't got to worry about him trying to steal nothing from me. That right there is a blessing all in itself. Don Paul smiled at the encouraging words Mr. Benjamin spoke about his son. Yeah, I didn't think he had it in him either. But he keeps proving me wrong, Don Paul said with a proud smile. Be like that sometimes, Don Paul. Be like that. Well, Ben, I best be on my way. You want to leave him a message? Nah, I'll see him tonight. I was just going to stop by and just see if you wanted to run and have lunch real quick or something. You have a good one, Ben. All right. Thanks, Don Paul. You do the same. Don Paul walked back towards his truck, not saying a word to Thomas. Thomas followed in behind him. What you doing down here, Thomas? Oh, nothing special. Just thought I'd come to see Blaine. Margaret about begged me half to death to come and see him. You know, she ain't doing too well with all this going on, Don Paul. And I hate to say, you ain't helping matters none spending all your nights with that Nick. Don Paul turned around sharply, causing Thomas to end his remark abruptly. Watch yourself, Thomas, Don Paul warned him. Ain't nothing wrong with Margaret, he said, walking away from Thomas, back toward his truck. Oh, what? So you the perfect father now? I seen the day you sent that boy sailing across the room just because, Thomas reminded him as he followed in behind him. Yeah, well, it's a new day. He's a man now. If he wanted to come home, he would. Don Paul looked at Thomas, then noticed he was not paying him any attention. He turned in the direction to see what Thomas was looking at. Who them girls? You know them girls right there, Don Paul? Don Paul looked at Thomas. Is he getting excited? Yeah, I know them girls. Them's Eve's daughters. Who? Them? Thomas asked, pointing. Lord, I ain't seen them girls since they was toddlers. It's been a long time. That one in the front, that light-skinned one, is that Samantha? Yeah, that's Samantha. Damn, she fine. I see why my nephew wanted her. She about to be as fine as Eve, except for her coloring. But Don Paul, you should have told him that he can't be having her in broad daylight. It don't matter how light she is. She ain't white. Didn't you tell him he could have dark meat on the side, but he should always have him a white woman up front? Didn't you teach him that, Don Paul? Don Paul looked at Thomas and walked away from him. Wait, Don Paul. Who's that little one? That little pudgy one? Is that Eve's daughter too? The little chubby one? Unconsciously, Thomas licked his lips and pulled at his manhood. Don Paul looked at Thomas and his stomach turned. He never wanted to believe it when Blaine used to tell him that Uncle Thomas was always touching his private parts. He thought back in Eve's kitchen, remembering when Solomon told him, when Blaine told him he better not ever have Solomon near his son, that Thomas was a pervert. As a matter of fact, Don Paul remembered Blaine begging him and Margaret not to leave him alone with Thomas, but they left him alone every time. And each time they returned, Blaine seemed withdrawn. How old is she? The little pudgy one. Don Paul lost himself. He tackled Thomas to the ground and began to beat him profusely. You bastard! You touched my boy? You raped my son? Thomas was caught off guard. He was too stunned to fight back. All he could do was try and protect himself by curling into a fetal position. Don Paul didn't stop his assault. Instead, he kicked him profusely. You put a hand on that little girl and I will send you to hell, he said, kicking him in the groin with his boots. Do you hear me, Thomas? I'll kill you. You stay away from my boy and my grandson too. You see them girls, them's Eve's daughters. I love them like they come from my own seed. And I will kill you dead before I let you put a hand on them. Especially that little baby girl right there that's got you twitching. You're disgusting. I love those girls just like I love their mama. And I will go to hell and back just for them. Take your stuff and get the hell out of my house. I better not ever see you again as long as I got breath in my body, he said, continuing to punch and kick Thomas. Jesus Christ. eyes, Don Paul said, running his hands through his hair as he ran from Thomas and got in his truck and drove away. Sweet Jesus, please forgive me, Don Paul cried from the pit of his stomach. He pulled his truck to the side of the road, got out and threw up. I swear to God, I didn't know Blaine. Oh God, why didn't I listen to you? You kept telling me, son. You kept telling me, Don Paul screamed, and he hit himself in the head with his fist. Oh God, Blaine, I know you hate me. Now I see every time you look at me, I see the hate in your eyes. Jesus, please forgive me. I didn't know, Blaine. I didn't know, son. Oh God, Blaine. Whew. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the conclusion of chapters 15 and 16 of Them Z's Daughters. Wasn't that different? Yeah, different. And so now we understand why Blaine has these issues going on with him. And so when our children tell us we need to listen to the children. And so on Tuesday night at 7 p.m., I will be rendering chapters 17 and 18 of Them Z's Daughters. Yes, it's getting so good. And so I would like for you all to remember that you can go to my website, www.nubianromance.com, and you can purchase Angel Fire. And remember that letters, Deja Vu Desires, and cousins are for book clubs or groups. You can get a bunch of friends together for private readings. And these three will not be read online because these are more detailed and a little more spicy and definitely more juicy. So I will not be reading these online. I thank you so much, especially my South Carolina connections. Y'all have really done a sister proud. Thank you so much for your book clubs and your engagements. Thank you for that. And if you all could please remember to share and like. And also please go to YouTube and subscribe to my channel, Nubian Romance. Nubian Romance Novels. Subscribe to that channel. So while you're out there, if you're too busy to stop by while I'm reading and you're surfing the internet or looking at stuff on YouTube, you can still watch the videos out there. So let's see who is on. Michelle Wall Austin. Hey, baby. Thank you so much. Hey! And my Sarah, Luverne, Tootie Pop Cooper. Thank you so much. Very, very much. I appreciate you coming. And so, again, I will see you on Tuesday night at 7 o'clock with chapters 17 and 18. You didn't have to come. I don't take you tuning in or coming back to view it lightly at all because you didn't have to come, but you did anyway. Thank you so, so very much. Peace.